So I've been watching through Hunter x Hunter for the second time these past couple of months, and I just finished Chimera Ant for the second time a couple of nights ago, and I really have to talk about it. This is by far one of my favorite anime of all time, and I think that this is by far one of the greatest shonen arcs ever written. So yeah, I think we need to talk about it. I've been struggling with sleep. I've been thinking about it all night. It is just mind-boggling. By the end of this arc, you are just left with so much to think about and talk about. So let's do that. Let's talk about it. Obviously, this goes without saying. This video will have heavy spoilers. Spoilers so heavy that you would strain just to lift them. So I'd appreciate it if you clicked off the video. I don't like spoilers being spread around because Chimera Ant is a special case. There's a lot of deep and dark secrets in this arc, and it would just benefit you so much watching through the series and not knowing these things. So yeah. Anyway, let's talk about these deep and dark secrets. So I think my favorite part about Chimera Ant are the characters. And no, I'm not just talking about Knuckle and Shoot and Moro and Gon and Killua. I'm talking about Ikalgo, Welfin, Shiapoof, Pito, just ridiculous, Yuppie. Just the characters that you weren't expecting to come through. Not just in terms of obstacles for our heroes, but in terms of actual just well-written characters. Poof is one of the most tragic villains I've ever seen written in manga. I think that the way his character sort of becomes so obsessive and becomes so hard to watch and just really, it makes you just, it just doesn't make you feel good. It is very unsettling how he obsesses over these secrets, of keeping these secrets from King Meruem. Just unreal. Just truly unreal. Just his inner monologues, the way they just carry those scenes and carry sort of our understanding as viewers of these scenes. And I really enjoyed it. I truly did. I enjoyed Poof a lot more on the second viewing. That's something that I have to note. I thought that he was very annoying my first watch, but going into the second time, I felt a lot more kind of a mutual respect for his character. I started understanding where he was coming from. I started thinking that maybe he's not in the wrong here. Like, I get it, you know, as a villain, of course, they're all in the wrong, let's get real, but as a villain, as their goal that they were set out to do, I understand. And what's just so awesome is that the king understands as well. By the end of this point, he has the option to take the life of Poof. I mean, they're all dying anyway from, you know, the giant rose explosion poison that's inside of them, but he decides not to. King Meruem understands that he understands what path he was going down on. He understands why they wanted to keep him away from Komugi and why they hid Komugi from him. Obviously, he's upset about it, but he understands. He understands that that would have been the wrong path in taking out the entire world. That's not the direction that I need to go. Having respect for a human being, falling for a human being, and loving a human being, perhaps, that's not something that the king should have done, you know, in taking over the world, and he understands that, and it's just, again, very well written. Another character that's well written is Welfin. Now, Welfin, I know, Welfin is just, he's the dumbest character. He's one of the dumbest characters in this arc. He is so scrubby by the beginning of it. His design is just weird. It's kind of gross to look at, but towards the end of the arc, there's this sort of moment between him and Ikalgo, our just favorite octopus in the entire world. Ikalgo is another great character, and we'll get onto him a little bit, but they have this sort of interaction where they talk about their past lives, and even just how that's brought up in the first place is really cool. But they start talking about their past lives and how they protected Gyro, how they worked for Gyro, and how, you know, they took over and took power in NGL, and don't even get me started on the backstory of Gyro itself. That was just ridiculous. But as viewers, we are just teased so much about Gyro, up until the end of the arc still. But Welfin, by the end of the arc, wants confirmation that the king isn't Gyro, that one of the ants aren't Gyro. And he sort of gets that. And there's this relief within him, but also this fear, because I feel like that if the king was Gyro, he would be satisfied by being killed by Gyro, by the king. But at that point, he wants to live, and that's what eventually gets him to age like 50 years or whatever and lose all of his hair and become even more creepy looking. And I really like that. I like how he went from desperation to just struggling with the fact that I need to find Gyro. Struggling with the fact that he is not here in this palace, so I have to live. I have to say the right thing here to live. And he eventually says, Komugi, which helps him live. He moves onward, and that is just, it's so beautiful. That scene, the way it's directed in the anime, the way Togashi's composition is just stupid good. It truly is. I think that's another really, really great part about this arc. I think that we should talk about Ikalgo a little bit. You know, as I was mentioning, Ikalgo sort of has this respect for Gyro, and he's kind of exploring the past life within himself, and also, you know, with Welfin and all of that, and it's really, really well written. But Ikalgo as a character is just one of those characters that stand out for me. Not only from a design standpoint, because he's just this adorable octopus, but because he goes through a character arc himself. You know, by the beginning of his introduction, you see that he's taken over this body, he's using his dead dolls, and he has this sniper dude, or not, I don't even know who this guy is. He's like Fleas or something. I don't really know what's going on there 100%. Just really interesting, and he's like singing when he's talking or whatever. Just really cool. And then he has this interaction with Killua, and then that turns into a friendship, a bond. And that is something that Ikalgo has wanted. One of my favorite inner monologues is when they're about to run out the door into the palace and take on, you know, the royal guard and presumably take on King Meruem. And he thinks to himself that this is everything I could have ever wanted. Friends to fight with, friends to possibly die for, people that care for me, and people that I can return that care to. And honestly, it brought a little tear to my eye. It truly did. Ikalgo brought a lot of tears to my eyes throughout this entire arc. And the way Killua just treats him, and just, it's really touching. It truly is. He was one of the moments, he had levity. There was levity. He added levity to the arc itself, and that's needed. A very needed amount of levity. Just feeling towards him and understanding his sort of mindset, and again his connection with Gyro, and how he gives sort of inspiration to Welfin to find Gyro and to let him know that Gyro still exists in this world, that he is not dead. That is beautiful. It truly is. Palm is an interesting character as well. And I think by the end of the arc, she really shines. Her introduction is a little abrupt. It kind of comes out of nowhere, but it still fits into the arc very well, and it's really, really cool. But you don't really get a chance to kind of stick around with her. You don't really get a chance to get an impression of what's going on through her head until the end of the arc, until she has that confrontation with King Meruem. And it's a beautiful one. I think that, again, it's sort of a poof scenario where you kind of understand where she's coming from. She has this Chimera Ant inside of her. She has that in her, and realizes that the king should not be doing this. And when the king begins to bow to her, to just get that out of her, get the information out of her, for her to tell him where Komugi is, he bows to her, and she just loses it. It is just so great. That scene in particular really, really sticks with me. The voice actress there is just incredible. All the voice work in this series is great. Specifically, this arc is just, it's unreal. I think something that I have to, if you're talking about Chimera Ant, you have to talk about Gon. You just have to. That's what you do. Gon goes through, to me, the most interesting character arc of the entire series. And the first watch through, the first time I watched through this series, again, I'm on my second viewing and reading through it currently, I didn't like it, really. I mean, I definitely didn't hate it. I definitely, it was cool, you know, that whole scene, his sort of, you know, just when he sees Pito working and operating on Komugi, when he kind of like, why is the villain helping somebody? Why are they saving somebody? You're supposed to be the bad guy. There's this kind of thought in his head, and he says it's not fair. He pounds on the ground. I really like how that's crafted. I really like that scene, but it felt really rushed, and it felt really like, why is he kind of like, just, what's going on? He's kind of losing himself here. My second viewing, however, I started to notice the seeds a lot more. I started to notice where they started planning this out. And again, it happens as soon as he loses his arm. It happens there. When Pito takes out Kite's arm, that initial snap, you saw how volatile Gon is just right there alone. He immediately lost his mind. And again, his connection with Kite isn't just about this character that he has respect for, this character that he thinks is cool and wants to hang out with and be friends with. It's the connection that Kite has to Jing, his father. It's a connection that he has around him. And again, in the anime, you don't get that initial introduction of the character until way later on. But in the manga, you see that they met a long time ago back on Whale Island. And he's the only character that's sort of engraved in Gon as a character. And I think that that's where that sort of breakdown comes from. That's where him losing of his mind comes from. And the transformation itself, how he just loses himself, and at that point, what do I even have to live for? Like, you took the only thing that I had to live for away from me, and now I'm just gonna kill you. And I think that, again, composition, talk about it, some of the best I've ever seen in shonen manga here, and some of the best direction I've seen in shonen anime, mind you. I think that that transformation showed you that Gon was giving up. That Gon didn't care anymore. He was using all this power and all this hatred within him just to kill Pito, and he did it easily. Not even a scratch on his body, he did it easily. And then Killua comes in and he sees this, and then Gon sort of snaps back and realizes that I do have something to live for. That Killua is my friend. And at that point, I'm not even joking, who wouldn't get emotional there? If you've invested that much time, we're talking episode like 130 here. If you invested that much time, you're probably going to be tearing up as well. It is just, it's so beautiful. It is just so beautiful how that's written there. And it's definitely one of the standouts of the entire series because it's just so human. It is so human and realistic to me. And another thing to remember is Gon is a child, and it's kind of brought to a point quite a bit in the series that Gon is a child. Even Killua kind of steps back, and Killua is a kid as well, but Killua has a very different mindset. Gon is very much a kid. He's like 12. He looks like a 12-year-old. He acts like a 12-year-old. That's who he is. Killua, again, is kind of different side of the same coin kind of deal, but I think that also plays into this and how, like, the losing of an older brother, of a sibling, at that point, at a young age, you're not capable of moving onward. You're not capable of thinking in a rational way. And I like how that is done here. I really do. And again, I liked it a lot more in my second viewing. Maybe because I paid attention to these things more. Maybe because reading it really, really helped. Because when you read something, I feel like it just gets engraved a lot more, and you understand it a lot more. Plus, you can reread it like over and over again. So yeah, I think that Gon is definitely one of the better parts of the arc, and obviously I think that where the arc sort of crescendos is the king and Komugi. Just the final scene in that little condo or whatever. It hurts very badly. It hurts so much. Especially rewatching it, it hurt a lot more. And this was the point where I was bawling in the series. I'm even getting a little emotional right now, if you see it in my eyes. I think that what Togashi did here was slowly but surely have King Meruem become the most human character in the entire arc. And by the end of the arc, you understand that. It's proven to you through just the way Togashi rewards his readers. The way that this is a long arc, guys. This is a beefy arc. I think it's like 80 to 90 episodes in the anime. It is ridiculously long. It's like half the entire series. It's a good chunk of manga. It's even longer in the manga. And he rewards his viewers. You've been waiting for this moment. You've been waiting for Gon and Pito to fight. You've been waiting for Gon to see that Kite is not alive. Kite is dead. You've been waiting to see Killua take on these bad guys and waiting for Ikalgo and Gyro. Where's Gyro? You get that. It's just all these little things that you've been waiting and wanting to see slowly begin to happen and are sprinkled towards like the third act of the arc. But something that happens at the end of the arc is the interaction between Komugi and Meruem. And it's not something that you were necessarily waiting for. It's not something that you were necessarily expecting. But it's beautiful. And I think that, again, as I mentioned, he becomes the most human character in the arc. I also think that he really showcases sort of just the vulnerability of power. And how no one can be that powerful. Unless, it's sloppily written and it's just like, he's a god, he can destroy anything. The king is not that character. In the beginning, sure, maybe he is that character. All hope is lost when he is first born. He kills his mother and immediately just starts killing children, like, and eats his own comrades. Like, it's very, very vicious, that first introduction. But by the end, he's vulnerable. He has these sort of inner turmoils within himself, and he has this connection with Komugi as a character. And Komugi is just such a wholesome, beautifully written character, and beautifully drawn character as well. Definitely just, oh man. But I think that is good. I think that vulnerability in a villain is excellent. You see it in Poof. You see it in Pitu. You see it in Yuppie. You see it in Welfin, in Ikalgo. And I know those, they were villains, I guess. But even going as far as to say in, vulnerability within all characters. Gon, having this breakdown, not being strong enough to carry the weight of Kite's death on his shoulders. And Killua feeling like he failed as a friend. That breakdown he has when he's talking to Palm. Just, oh man. I love how, the narration is first he just began to cry and try to get Palm to understand. But then he lost it. And he just broke down and he truly cried. And that, man, there's just so many great moments like that. A vulnerability when you realize these characters are acting this way because this might be the end for them. All of them, when they walk out that door, as soon as our heroes walk out that door, they know what they're getting into. Ikalgo mentions it in his monologue. They are all prepared to die right now. And you see how these characters act and react within each other. That mindset carry through. They are all prepared to die. Knuckle is another character that just has really, I love how he, within himself, is, I don't want to kill these people. By the end, Yuppie, just gives up. You know what? You have my respect. I'm gonna let you go. And then there's just this moment between Knuckle and Yuppie where, what is going on, Togashi? What are you doing? Anyway, I could just ramble on and on about this arc. It's almost been 20 minutes. I know this is a beefy video. I think that the complexities within Chimera Ant are some of the best shonen that has ever been written. That is not a front. That is not a lie. Again, of course, this is my opinion. But if you've read it and if you saw what I saw, if you understand it the way I understand it, and are welcome to it, if you welcome in the vulnerabilities of the characters and the emotion, if you don't, put up a wall and try to look at it critically, look at it. Just read it and just watch it. Don't look at it critically. Don't look at it that way, because when you overanalyze those, what am I doing right now? I'm overanalyzing it, but when you overanalyze those things, it becomes less fun to watch, and it just becomes, I don't know, like a chore. Then you're like, okay, let's get onward. I want to just get to the next cool part. It's not like that. You really just gotta just sit back and just watch everything slowly unfold. I even dig the slow episodes of this arc. I truly do. I dig the stuff when they were on the train, and the stuff when they were going to Beijing. I dug that stuff. I truly did. This is by far some of the best manga ever written, and if you've been a part of this channel for a little while, I think that, going forward and creating my own series, creating my own manga series, obviously, as a mangaka, you need to look at the masters. You need to look at the people that have been doing this for a decade and have a deeper understanding of it. You need to study that, and that's sort of what I've been doing. That's something that I've been kind of going out of my way to do, is sort of study the masters. Look at his art. Look at his direction. His composition is something that I've been paying attention to a lot more in manga, and it's something that's very much overlooked within a lot of the youth readers, but of course even some of the older ones, they don't really pay attention to composition. It's very important, and again, I think that Chimera Ant has some of the best of all of those things, and it makes me very happy as a viewer and as a reader, but as a creator, as someone that wants to create, it makes me frustrated because, damn it, Togashi, you're too good. It makes me so envious and just frustrated within myself. How did you do this? How did this story unfold? It's incredible. It truly is. And yeah, if you got this far in the video, hats off to you. I'll literally put a hat on and take it off for you. It was fun talking about this series. This is the first time I've ever really talked about this series in the channel. or on the channel, I should say, and I appreciate you tuning in for that. It means a lot. If you are a new viewer, especially, man, like, thank you for sure. Comment down below. Give me your thoughts on Chimera Ant, or just Hunter x Hunter as a whole. How do you see... I'm keep hitting my desk there, sorry. How do you view this series, and how do you view this arc? Do you think that it is one of the better shonen arcs of all time? I'm not saying it is the quantifiable best. I'm not saying that. I mean, I think even, like, tuning exams in the original Naruto kind of rivals it a little bit. There's arcs that definitely, you know, and full disclosure, have not read One Piece yet. Have not read One Piece yet, so that just take that out of the equation, all right? I'm talking about what I have read out of, like, Naruto, Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho, stuff like that. Like, out of all of those, this is one of the best. I will get onto One Piece. I'm sure I'll be talking about some crazy, you know, Punk Hazard or whatever arc in that in a future video. But yeah, comment down below and give me your thoughts on all things Chimera Ant. Thank you again very, very much for watching. Again, if you got this far in the video, you deserve 5 stars and a thumbs up. But you can hit the thumbs up too if you'd like. I appreciate it. We could do a mutual thumbs up, right? Anyway, thank you for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.